Joe Rogan has, and not by himself, but has changed the podcast game for sure. You know?
Yeah, and it's a podcast that's still as consistent as ever. I mean, I was listening to the Joe Rogan Experience when it first started, when it was nothing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember one of my friends was like, "What are you listening to that guy for?" And then years later, he's like, "I think you're onto something with that."
Yeah.
Like, because I learned about so many different people. I learned about so many different like genres of things in my life.
I like to say it like this: Joe Rogan is like a TED Talk for real people.
That's great.
Because that's what he does.
That's perfect.
He researches his subject matter very well. He never comes across dumb about anything that he's talking about. Number two is he asks the best damn questions, and he lets his guests talk.
Yeah.
And a lot of talk show hosts run their mouth too much.
100%. They're just thinking about the next thought, not even listening what their guest is about to say on their own podcast.
Yeah, no,
it's all about them for some reason. And it's crazy.
And he does very well with unpacking, so to speak. I know that's an old saying now, but he'll unpack it with them. They'll say something and he'll take it, and he really gets down to great questions and answers that other people may never get to, because he knows how to properly mine to the depth he needs.
Oh yeah,
and I think that's his forte.
Oh, for sure. He just watching, like, because he had the Rock on, Dwayne Johnson, right? And I just thought it was such a cool podcast, because you only would see the Rock on like a late night show, maybe like Fallon, or I don't even watch any of the late night shows anymore,
I don't either, but yeah, I know what you mean. You'd only see him in those celebrity Hollywood moments.
Yeah, sitting down on the couch, knowing what 5 questions he's going to be asked.
Yeah,
still pretending to be this guy that everybody is seeing in the movies and on TV. Right. But then when Rogan brings him into a studio, he's just a dude. He's just a guy. He's just a person. And you hear him cursing, which you would never hear on TV.
Right.
You hear him talking about his upbringing, and you really feel like at the end of the episode that you really got to know a person.
Yeah, it was a valuable time that you spent, and you took something from it. It wasn't the 5 basic questions people always ask, and you're like, yeah, I've heard all this shit before, man. Give me something real,
Yeah, and that's even one of the things that Jay Leno said after he had left the show, and he stopped doing the late night show. He was like, I'm an old man. I'm sitting down with, 18, 19-year-old singers, female singers that I have nothing in common with. I can't relate to them at all.
Right.
So it was just getting to a point for him where he was
felt
like,
disconnected.
Just fake. I got to get out. Yeah.
And I could see that with him, because he's that guy. Look, he loves his cars. That's the thing he loves. And he was a talk show host, but he was a comedian first, and I think that for him, it may have run that course. He's just like, yeah, I don't need it anymore. I, on the other hand, hope that I could talk to an 18-year-old singer the rest of my damn life, just to have the interview, because it's cool to me. And I think Rogan's the same way. Now he probably is not going to interview many 18-year-olds, because the depth there isn't quite developed most of the time.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but he is just phenomenal with uncovering all those quotables that you end up with, and again, I mean, you look at Joe Rogan. We were just talking about J.D. Vance, but look, Joe Rogan, he goes from being a comic. He's hosting Fear Factor, where you have to eat a horse penis, you know what I mean, to win the game. And so, and then, he becomes a popular personality. His podcast blows up. He becomes the biggest podcaster in the world. Then he's best buds with Elon Musk.